people who will be working with us, some of them are on the ascension path too. Others are actually on the Christ fall path, where they're going to assist certain races that won't have a choice but to fall, but get them into what was called the Christ fall matrix. And these people will actually be pushing to have a resource management revolution here, a green revolution. We're really pushing like everything from animal rights to using resources wisely, from water to solar to wind, all of those type of things that you're seeing bits of, and they're growing now, like the awareness of going green, and doing things that are eco-friendly, those kind of things, eco-friendly. That movement will grow. And as far as us being on the planet, knowing what we know, most of the people in the green movements do not want to know about stargates. They really don't. Yeah, they're more interested in carbon footprints and those kind of things. Which, hey, that's cool. Except it's not going to matter if you have 0 carbon footprint. If you don't know what to do with a stargate, you're still going to get stuck on a planet that is going into fall. You're not going to stop global warming, because it isn't just the hydrocarbons that is causing it. It is being caused by the torsion fields coming out of the core of the planet from the reverse Merkaba fields inside the core. And this is going to continue. So we were going to see the worst case scenarios, but not all at once hitting, one after another. We are going to run out of water on this planet. Science already knows that. We are going to run out of food supplies. We are going to run out of oil. We are going to run out of a lot of things. But as those things are occurring, we're also going to have strange anomalies occurring with the planet itself, from more quakes to climate changes and those kind of things. These are realities that we're moving into. And you can tell, because even the consciousness on the planet that is not interested in stargates or ascension and thinks we're all a bunch of airy-fairy, people that, believe in God and that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of people that really do not believe in God on the planet. They, think religion is just something for people who can't deal with how bad reality really is, right? Because it gives them hope, right? But even there, that kind of consciousness is starting to recognize, how many babies are born per minute on this planet? I don't have the statistics, but it's huge, right? How many more mouths to feed? How much more water is being created on this planet per minute? It isn't really. It's being recycled, where you have the rain and the ocean thing. But as far as like usable water, we have an ocean full of it, but supposedly desalination is too expensive. It requires so much resources to just sustain that for every, household. And you don't have to be rich in America to have that. Just even lower, middle income, even people on welfare have hot and cold running water, indoor plumbing, food stamps. I mean, those kind of things. Even people that hold consciousness like we do, where we're aware of the fact of the things that are done not done right here, as far as raping the planet and those kind of things. We are still a part of it as well, because we live here. I mean, I'm not about to go, I don't think a lot of us are about to go live out under a rock someplace, with the scorpions and, throw away all your clothes. You can do that, but it's not going to help. It's not going to fix the problem. You having hot water, do you think the rest of the world is going to give up, is going to give up their hot water? Just because it would be better if we all, tried to, modulate it better? No, they're not. And we're not being asked to be martyred here. We're not, they're not saying, go the whole Buddhist thing where you give up all your worldly goods and your possessions and just live on handouts and those kind of things. That's one way of looking at it, but the Christos races actually don't look at it that way. They believe in fair exchange. They don't believe in asking for handouts. They believe that you have the power to give something that in return, the universe flows back to you with something. So they're not saying we need to deprive ourselves. But one of the things that I believe they're asking us to come into looking at is carrying the awareness that we do of the large drama that's taking place and the history that goes with it, and the fact that we have 200 years left of stargates being opened, ascension gates being opened, and we are actually being entrusted as the guardians of those gates, because there's nobody else down here that wants to know how to do it, or even cares, or even believes anymore that they're real. So they would like us to start to move our lives in a way where that really becomes central. Wow, I am part of a collective of people here. As far as what is my purpose, wow, the purpose of this wave of people, this wave of consciousness, is to first and foremost keep those gates open at all cost. Because right now we're the only ones that have been given the training to do that, who cared enough to keep coming to get the training to do that, who knows the difference between a Merkaba spin that's Christic and one that's creating a black hole torsion field. Right? We're knowing the difference between those things. So the first thing is, like, it never feel like you have no purpose in life. Sometimes I know for me it can feel like that. Just my little self will just go like, whatever. You know, I have to stay here. Can I go home yet? That kind of thing. And say, you are home for now. You know, you and the people like you are needed. Your consciousness is needed there. Who else is going to run the gates? Question number one is what the beloveds asked me. And it's like, you guys? They said, we're not down there. Actually, I don't know, because they're going to try to help us make a consciousness shift. And one of the activations that comes through, the three of them will help, but there's an activation that will come through that will help make this shift. We're going to begin the process of bringing in the higher earth encryption lattice directly into our biofields. We've begun that process in the Irish workshop, but we're going to continue it with the next level, so we can shift into a different perspective, perceiving ourselves actually in the roles that we serve. We have this old picture, all of us have an old picture of who we were. We got that picture formed from the time we were, you know, in somebody's womb, in your mom's womb, where other people had an idea about that baby, whatever the idea was. Then the baby came out, and they gave it a name, and then your whole concept of self has been formed from the external horizontal environment. Every one of those ideas that somebody projected at you stuck to your field and created an encryption matrix. So we have all of these encryption lattices that have layers upon layers of misconstrued ideas about who we really are. Some of them are our own. Some of them were just, you know, thrown on us from other people, from parents, from teachers, all of that kind of thing. But we actually have the ability to choose who we want to be from this point forth, starting with the fact that there's a whole group of beings, ascended beings, that are looking at each one of us and seeing us completely different than that twisted picture that we've been raised with of who am I from the time we came in here and forgot who we were.
I'd just like to share with you that I knew by the time I was 8 years old that my birth name, which I will not share with you, wasn't my name, because I was already becoming very aware of who I was, and that who I was not who my parents thought I would be or would become. And so the name, partially named after my father and partially named after my mother, just completely did not resonate. In fact, it rubbed against the grain of my DNA lattice encryption. And so I had to wait. But eventually, when I had my awakening experience, I was given my name that is me, and that is the name Anais. And at that time, I was happily informed that the name Anais, in this context of it being my soul, spiritual, conscious co-creation identity, means heart and mind joined by the waters of creation. So you do have the opportunity right now, as I'm speaking to you. It is 2025. Many of you are waking up. Your popcorn is popping. And many of you will become fireproof women. Some of you are still in training. You're the fourth wave coming in. I'm part of the first wave. So, if you need to change your name, do it.
They can see our history. They understand what a struggle it is, and they respect us very much for even coming into a density system like this. They understand us as guardians. They look at us as guardians, and they have that attitude of, well, watch your back. It's 2 years before, yes, some heavy energetic stuff is going to go down. Is it the end of the world? No. But is it the end of the human race as an angelic human race? Not the whole race, but a good part of it is going in a different evolutionary path. All right, it's not being destroyed, but it is being changed into something else. So these are big times we're in, and we are a forefront guardian team on this planet. They would like us to really do that step back a bit, where, as I was explaining before with myself, we step back and just kind of just look at it all again and say, look at it from a distance. Pretend you're flying over the world and then flying over yourself. It can be so icky feeling down here and confusing, and you just don't know what to do with this or what to do with that. It might be your career, it might be your home relationships, it might be just being in a body on planet Earth at this time where you don't feel comfortable. There's a place where you can go that you don't have to die to get to, that you can move yourself vertically, actually up your vertical column, and go way past the atmosphere. Imagine yourself way past Earth's net, right? And then imagine popping through into what would be the higher Earth planes, which we'll be learning more about. Imagine, you can use the old symbology if you want to, floating on the clouds like angels. Let's go, wow, I'm still here. Wow, it's really cool up here. Now, let's go look at that thing that was really bugging me down there. Oh, that was so easy to fix. I just could have shifted my thoughts, and I didn't realize it. I could have shifted what I was energizing, and it would have come out a better outcome. There's a lot of things that we can learn to do to shift. Before we can slide, which is go through the gates in biological ascension, we need to shift. And the shifting of our encryption lattice is what it is the core shift that needs to occur. We can begin by shifting with the parts of our mind that we're aware of, but if we're not aware of a bunch of the other part of our mind that is like turned off in the DNA right now, so we actually don't have conscious awareness while we're conscious in the body, all of that is still in the encryption fields. So we're going to be learning more about the encryption fields. In fact, from now and all the way through the rest of the Sliders workshops, we will be given techniques that are meant to clear portions of the encryption field and align them with the higher Earth encryption field. And eventually, it will seem like you'll find that there's a part of you that is very aware from those perspectives, and you can hold that perspective while in the body here. It's like a form of just consciousness bilocation without having to bilocate the body, where you realize, wow, I'm from there. And it's almost like you're walking around saying, yeah, I'm kind of like in my past right now, right? Because that's where you're going. That's where you're heading. If you're heading for ascension, first stop is higher Earth. And once we are there, we would look back on who we are here and how we got there. And if we can bring the encryption of higher Earth, which would be a bit of a future, a little bit further in the future from where we are now, down into the encryption field here, it will strengthen us and move us forward into the spiral that pulls us into that future and give us enough resistance to not get drawn in to the Metatronic spirals that are activating in the planetary marker, those with the 55 activation and stuff. So we're going to learn a bit more in this workshop set about these spirals. And because there's certain activations that are occurring during this workshop period, there will be 3, they said, coming in.